Did you know that even though there are tens of thousands of words in the English language, you really only need about 3,000 of them to say anything you need to say? I'm teaching 3,000 words in 3,000 days. Stick with me and you'll get a new word every day. Often, often. Often has two acceptable pronunciations. The way I pronounce it, I don't say the T, often. But you will hear often, and they're the same word, they have the same meaning. It is perfectly acceptable in English to say often. It is also acceptable to say often. We do this with a lot of words when we have a consonant before a T. We just don't say the T. Some other words that I can think of that do this are listen, hasten. Those are some words we don't say the T. It becomes silent. And it happens because it's difficult to say the first sound, the f, and then to say the T. So we often drop this T sound if it's next to a consonant. Mountain. When I say the word mountain, I don't say the T, but I also don't say mountain. There's a little stop in there. So you have to listen carefully to see if that T is just silent or if it makes a little bit of a sound or if it might make a sound like often. Often or often means frequently. Usually 90% of the time, frequently. It is an adverb of frequency and will follow all the same rules as your adverbs of frequency. And I'm going to explain some of those rules right now. Constantly is synonym of often, repeatedly, always, regularly. Those are some synonyms for the word often. Now, let's talk about an adverb of frequency. Adverbs of frequency are simple tense signifiers. So you're going to use a simple tense with an adverb of frequency. So usually you'll use the present simple tense to talk about a daily activity, something that you do habitually. For example, something I do habitually, I film videos. If I put the often in front, I can do that. Often, I film videos. I can do that. I can also put it here. I often film videos. Now, notice there's no comma when I put it here. I often film videos. And I can also put here. I film videos often. It is acceptable with the word often to put it in any of these three spaces. Not every adverb of frequency can go in all three of those spaces. Often can. And the space that you will always be safe in putting an adverb of frequency is right before the verb, as long as the verb is not to be. I often film videos. Now, what about the be verb? The be verb is weird. It's weird in every language. Think about your be verb. Does it follow the same rules as the rest of the verbs in your language? It probably doesn't. I have a theory as to why this is the case. That theory is that we develop vocabulary in a language before we develop the grammar for it. And if an idea is very, very old, then the word formed before there were enough words to need a grammar. So the be verb is so old. The first thing any person wants to say is, I am Zadie, or you are, and your name. It's our identity. That's our oldest idea. And so the be verb is a very, very old, so it doesn't follow the same grammar rules. Let's look at it with an adverb of frequency. If I have the sentence, I am happy, where does the adverb of frequency go? Now, if I can put it at the front with a comma. Often, I am happy. I can also put it at the end. I am, nope, it can't go at the end. I am happy often. Not with often. If this were sometimes, you could put it at the end. But here is the real difference. I am often happy. You can't say I often am happy. The be verb goes before all adverbs, but adverbs go before all the other verbs, just not the be verb. So the be verb is weird in this way. I often film videos. I am often happy. Okay? This is kind of a middle to big mistake. If you make this mistake, mixing up syntax like this makes it very hard for a native English speaker to understand what you're saying. Let's look at some examples of often. So we use it to show frequency. She often goes for a morning run before work, enjoying the quiet streets. This shows habitual action, it's positive, it's routine. We use the present simple to talk about routine, and notice that this sentence is in present simple. We use it to compare or to emphasize. Problems in the new system often turn out to be simpler than they first appear. This suggests the frequency with a nuance of an expectation. It often turns out to be. To turn out to be means to result in something. So if I say, it often turns out to be simpler, it means I expect that it will be simpler because my experience is that it usually turns out to be simpler than I expected. When we use it in a formal or a literary tone, truth, as philosophers have often noted, is stranger than fiction. Truth is stranger than fiction is a sentence that we often say. Truth is stranger than fiction. In this sense, it's talking about a reflective style. It's thinking, how is it working? It's based on an observation, and we say truth is often stranger than fiction. We can use it with negation for contrast. We don't often see such dedication from beginners. We don't often see. Now, notice that the adverb goes between the two helping verbs. The adverb will always go between the two helping verbs. Not also goes between the two helping verbs. We don't often see such dedication from beginners. So to not often means that it is rare. It's the opposite of often because we put the not there. And the idiomatic expression, he's often at odds with his coworkers over minor details. To be at odds with something means to fight against it or to not agree with it. He's often at odds means 80 to 90% of the time he fights against or is not agreeable with his coworkers. In this case, it's slightly negative. Often itself is a very positive or neutral to positive tone, but when we put it with a negative like he's at odds with, then it can be negative. So the opposite of often is infrequent or rare. And there's no noun or verb. This is just an adverb. And it's one that we use quite frequently. We often use often. I hope you do too. I hope you enjoyed the lesson.
I really hope that you enjoyed this word. Use it 5 times today, write it down, commit it to memory. And I'll see you in the next lesson.